Yes. So for today's agenda items, we have. So first, I see audience is. I mean, we have a mix of audience. People are new to MuleSoft as well as people are expert as well as moderate. So what we will do is for first 10-15 minutes, we will go over how manual deployment process works. Post that, what API discoveries and what is the policy setup, how it works. Then we will actually jump to our today's actual agenda topic. And after that, what all tools and techniques we guys are using for the same, how you can enable it in your environment. And post that, we have a very interesting topic for you guys, that is deep dive on it. And that's where you guys would love to see Jenkins pipeline orchestration. We are using Anypoint CLI as well. And again, within the same pipelines, you guys will also notice API discovery happening. Setup is also automatically happening. So that's it for the deep dive part. Then we have a Q&A and a trivia quiz where lucky winners would get a voucher. So now next part, let's move to first, what is a deployment process in Cloud Hub. So for today's session, right, we guys will first cover Cloud Hub only. Maybe in coming series we can think of RTF and other tools, but as of now, strictly we will stick to Cloud Hub, so that we will not randomize the agenda. So let me quickly go to Anypoint Studio, and so that sorry, let me quickly go to Anypoint platform so that you guys can see how. So let me know once you guys see my Anypoint platform screen. Just give me that. Cool. So here, as you guys are seeing here, I have a very small setup. I have a master business group. Within that, I have a LOB1BG. So take a use case that you have a client who has multiple line of businesses. Among them, they would be holding one master organization, MuleSoft. Below that, say, for example, you have LOB1, a particular LOB. So you would create a business group. I'm not going deep inside this, what LOB is or what business group looks like, how you segregate it. That's an altogether different topic. But from that, first, let me quickly jump to the runtime manager, where you can see the deployment whenever you upload a jar file, where it goes and how it looks. So as you guys see on my screen, I have 3 applications running in Runtime Manager. Runtime Manager is nothing but an runtime plane of Anypoint platform. And as I said, it's a cloud hub, so it is everything is MuleSoft managed. So apart from sending jar and few configurations, we are not able to go inside the EC2 instances which are running behind the scenes. So this is where a particular API or your jar file sits and acts as an API for you. And there are a few settings over here which you can configure. So deployment is pretty simple in terms of Cloud Hub from UI screen. Simply click and upload file, you browse your particular file, give OK, and that's it. So that's how it happens in Runtime Manager. It's a very quick intro to this. And once your API is running over here, right, the next step is you apply some policies. Say I want to have a OAuth policy, I want to apply client ID enforcement. So for that, API manager is the place where you need to go and where you can actually associate your runtime deployments to a particular instance and have API auto discovery. So you guys are already seeing here that I have 2 applications. Both are in active status. How you can simply do it is you click on Manage API. Here you pull your particular set from Exchange. So Exchange is nothing but a kind of a Play Store or a portal where your internal external audience can go and pull the reusable assets so that you can increase the consumability of the application network. So from here you can pull the asset, give save, okay. Post that, what you will get is you will get API auto discovery ID, which you guys are seeing here in my screen. And this is what we need to attach it to runtime to the particular API. So I'll quickly go there and show you guys where I'm actually adding API auto discovery. There is also in the code as well. You also need to, so those who are hands-on with Anypoint Studio and did few developments they would be knowing that there is an API auto discovery components as part of configurations. You just add it in globals and that's it. You just map that particular ID over here and it will run like a charm and you will see active in API manager. So far, any questions on this before we actually go to further slides or we deep dive? If you have any questions, please type it in a chat. We can quickly answer that because this is basics. If you guys don't know what runtime manager is, what is API manager, then post that you guys will not follow me. So I think runtime manager is under control plane only and falls under runtime plane. That's correct. But the runtime plane actually is which is behind the scene at AWS, which is MuleSoft is managing. That's right. And from where auto discovery ID is generated, it is from API manager. When you manage an asset, automatically it will be created for you and you have to via code attach it to your particular API. It is, so I already said, Anurag, if we go for on-prem or a cloud hub hybrid model, I'm not going to cover that part today. We are strictly going to stick to cloud hub because that's altogether a different topic. So I don't want to randomize the agenda. So yeah, probably you can talk to me offline and we can catch up on that. Okay, so now let's move to the next slides. Okay, now I already said about API discovery. Now let's quickly see what is a policy setup. So for example, I have this API and I want to apply, say, client ID enforcement, a few policies setting with this API. So this is the place where you actually apply the policies. Client ID enforcement related, say I simply give this, my policy is applied. So place where after once you are managing your API instance in API manager, you can come to policies and apply these policies. Now, so far, whatever steps I did on UI, meaning from the Anypoint platform control plane, same we are going to do via Jenkins and other set of tools as part of CI and CD. So we deployed a jar file. We did a instance API. We are managing an instance, and also we have applied few policies. Those are the three steps I quickly showed to you guys, and then let's move to. So now we know that what all things actually we need to automate, right? So I think we should have. So first two questions: how does it happen manually? Now we know that. What is that I need to automate? That also I told you guys that you need to automate the runtime. You need to automate the deployment. You also need to automate the API manager part of managing the instance. And now the next question is, do I have right tools? So thank you, Neeraj, for feedback. Yes, even I too love this slide. So, so okay, let's begin a quick deep dive because the tool setup is something. Park this in your mind, guys. What we will do is we will have a deep dive into the whole setup as well. So just bear with me for a few slides, and that third question, which will be answered shortly in coming slides. Okay, let's jump to agenda topic. What is continuous integration and continuous delivery or deployment? So this one is an approach to be, so if I talk about integration, right, in very simple words, if I need to tell you, hey, CI, what it will do, it will create an artifact for me. And a CD, what it will do, it will deploy that particular artifact. This is the very layman term. And if you want to go with the cherry part of it and you attach more flavor to it, then I would say it's an approach to continually validating the state of the code base through automated testing, best achieved through integration with version control and artifact store. What it simply means is you need to have a right tools to build your asset or an artifact, and post that you store it somewhere in some repository. And whatever you have built and whatever you are storing, that is something you pull it up and deploy it. That's continuous delivery and a deployment. Now, this is a very layman term. I mean, in terms of production ready CD plan, if you are, or a continuous delivery plan you are thinking, then so many things will come into picture as well. Promoting dev, QA, prod, all that also would come into picture. But considering the scope of today's meetup, we will slowly go into that part as well, but we will cover just dev part today in the today's session. So 3 topics for today: CI, CD, and deep dive. So let's begin. So I said about the right tools. So the guy, the boy who is sitting and asking that, do I have a right tool? So these are the ones which we are going to use today for the whole setup of CI and CD. So what all things you would need? You would need Jenkins, some experience in Groovy, not much. Just you should understand the scripting of it and what things are happening in Groovy. So that this particular plugin is also available in Jenkins, so you can simply pull it up. We will use Maven because Mule Maven plugin is the base of building the artifacts which has been pushed to Cloud Hub, right? Then Anypoint Studio, definitely you would need to develop a particular code base for you, and you will create a project there, export a jar from it, and then you would need an Anypoint Cloud. Active Anypoint subscription is what you would definitely need, otherwise you will get some errors. And as of now, also for this session, I'm using a trial account. I'm not using any partner or a client account, so I'm doing everything in trial account only. Then this is something new, Connected App. You guys might have seen few topics and documentations around it. So Connected App is something which we are using for the CD part, specifically an API discovery and a policy setup. We will use those client ID and secret, which will act behalf of a user. Then MuleSoft Enterprise Nexus Repo Access. This is something for if someone is interested to have a detailed MUnit reporting, and this part I will cover. So here, if you want to have a clean report of how much coverage you have as part of your MUnit, this is something that Nexus Repo Access you would need. But if you skip that particular step with a free trial version or a public repo of a MuleSoft, that also would work for you guys. I'm using Nexus repository to store the artifacts. Then a simple mail server. I'm using a Gmail account of mine, and then Anypoint CLI. So I'm seeing questions as well. So can GitHub be used as artifact repo in place of Nexus or JFrog? So GitHub is a code repo. Nexus is an artifact repo. We know to answer your question. So Nexus or a JFrog, anyone can use. GitHub will be storing your code. I hope that answers the question. Okay. So
another one, Nimish.
Yes, Neeraj, yes.
From Jitendra Kumar Mehta, API auto discovery configuration should be there in code, or only then will it work if we are passing direct.
Understood. Yep. Thank you, Neeraj. So Jitendra, you are right. I mentioned when I was speaking that you need to add a API discovery component as part of your code itself, and you have to map that property, and that property is something which I am passing to a property pan of a particular API. So your understanding is right. Okay. So let's come to a CI flow. So first, what we will do is we will simply take first an 50,000 top view, and then slowly we will move into the details. So take a high level look as of now to the CI workflow. This will be anyways touched in detail in coming slides, but here just consider that use case that, hey, you have a particular LOB for you. For that, there are multiple code is residing in the SCM, which is a source code management, which could be a Bitbucket or a GitHub or a GitLab, anything. And from there, you are pulling the code in Jenkins as part of one of the job. It is being checked out, being built with Maven plugin. After that, you have a few MUnits which needs to be run. If coverage is low, you will simply fail the build. If there is a test failure, which I simply said, if there is any MUnit specific, say your coverage, you are saying I need to have 100% and it is 70%, it will simply fail, notify the user via email setup, and it can also send an email to a shared mailbox or a distribution list saying that, hey, your build is failing. But if things are okay, what will happen is it will push a particular jar to a Nexus repo. In case out of all these steps, if anything is failing, right, then what would happen is it will simply trigger an email saying that, hey, your build failed. Okay, so this is altogether first a CI flow. Just take a quick look. We will go in deep as well over here and park your questions in whenever a deep dive happen in this topic, you can ask the questions, or you can type it in chat as well, so that we can talk about it. Then as part of, okay, there is one, I'm thinking after test phase will execute build package. No, that's the beauty here. So there, we are not using a traditional Mule Maven funda. What I'm doing is I'm packaging the jar individually, and after that I'm going to pass that jar without a build to a particular environment of a Cloud Hub. So so if you guys are thinking or keeping a Mule Maven plugins traditional way of doing a CI/CD as part of a single job or a single click, that is what is not going to happen. Because there could be a scenario. So I would like to spend some more time over here, Neeraj, on this topic, because this is something interesting and which is not out of the box available in MuleSoft. So what happens in MuleSoft, for MuleSoft in the Maven plugin, which they have provided in single go, right? Everything happens: build, package, test, and deploy. So all the phases are as part of one job you have to pass. Reason being, it pulls artifact directly from the target folder. So what is happening now is the packaging is happening separately as part of CI, and deploy is happening separately inside a CD flow. So it will pick whatever is being packaged. At that time, I don't want to spend time in rebuilding my asset again. Because see, what happens is it's a traditional CI. If you go for a traditional Maven one, which MuleSoft is giving an actual CI/CD, that's where the one conflict is coming. What CI says, you create your artifacts, those will be certified, and then after it will be pushed to a particular environment. And that's where now in Mule, everything is happening in a single go. And that's what I'm trying to break over here in two flows. There could be a scenario you might not be having the access, or you might not be having a few jars, or few in the prod scenarios, you might be having only access to a jar files. You might not be having access to a Bitbucket, considering you have a separate subscription of your, say, private cloud, or you want to restrict that code base should not be touched directly from the Jenkins box of prod. So that is something I'm trying to break over here. Once at CI part, yeah, the Ravikiran benefits I'm sharing now. The benefit with this approach is, in prod box, if you don't have a code access or anything like that, you simply pull a jar over there, and your first benefit is you are saving time in building. If you have a very big API, which takes time to build, pull jar from the artifact trees and all, that time you are saving. Another approach would be, whenever your Nexus or a particular one build multiple environment deploy, that also is possible. That's right. Another thing is, see, many a times what happens, as of now I haven't seen in Mule, but as part of other tools like Java and all, we certify our artifact trees, right? That, hey, all the jars or artifacts which are sitting in my repository, those should not be vulnerable. So that's the reason for you can have a particular artifact repo on which you can have your jobs, or you can apply some security policies. Once those are certified, then only you move to the production. So there are so many things that is beneficial in this approach, which is not coming out of the box in the Mule Maven plugin. I hope that answers the questions.
Yeah, just one thing. Yeah, just one thing there, Nimish. So everyone, this is like Nimish real-time project experience and his experience. MuleSoft out of the box approach will work for your solutions and everything. So we are not saying that it's not going to work, but this is just for learning purpose.
This is for learning. Thank you, Neeraj. Yep, this is just a learning purpose. And Praveen, you are right. Exchange also we can use it. Atul, we are not touching about Docker and all. This is a pure jar artifact we are talking about, because Cloud Hub is for today's scope. So I don't want to dilute the agenda by talking about Docker image.
This topic is so huge. You can have presentations on this for even one continuous month. So thank you, Nimish, for staying within the limits of the presentation agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neeraj. Yep. Okay, so before we see the magic, let's first see the CD flow as well. We'll quickly touch base on this, and then we will see the magic, what is happening. So here, what is happening is, see, there is app name and version. So if you guys notice the previous slide, right, here is something code is going, or your particular jar is sitting in Nexus repo. So the same in another Jenkins job, you can call it out from app name and version. Your pipeline execution will start. It will pull artifact from repo. It will apply API discovery and policy setup. It will deploy that particular one. So API discovery. So here, the magic of this, that is something Akshay will definitely cover in detail. Deploy is something will happen over here, and if anything is failing out of these 4 major steps, it will send out an email saying that, hey, your build is failing. So pretty simple CD flow. Just pull a jar and deploy it to a particular environment. So as of now, the CD flow talks about one particular environment. This is per environment. Your view would be like this. So you can consider this for environment 1, same environment, or for a sandbox or a non-prod. Same can fit into a prod as well. Okay, let's see the magic first. It's a magic time, how things are happening. We should know first, because then only we should spend our time in understanding if it is really interested. So let's first see the magic. I will show the CI. So as part of this, first let's see a CI flow. So what is happening? I hope you guys are seeing my Jenkins screen now. So let me quickly jump back. Yes, just give me.
It's fine. It's fine, Nimish.
Sure, Neeraj. Thank you. So what is happening here? Some installation of tools. It will check, hey, Maven you have, Git you have or not. Then after there is build happening, test happening, it is publishing a particular artifact to Nexus, and then I said I have a email settings as well, right? If a successful build is happening, it will simply send me an alert in my Gmail box. So this is a typical CI flow, and if I show the CD. So this is what is CD flow, which is fetching the artifact, triggering all these API configurations like API policy setup and discovery, then the deployment, and then again success or a failure. So here this trigger API configuration, right? That is something we have created another job, which could be like a common utility. So this is what API configuration related job is. What it is doing is it will fetching those few configurations file from artifact, applying all this discovery and policy setup, and that's it. Once it is done, it will give back control to that flow, and that's it. And here, as part of deploy, what is happening? It is using behind the scene Anypoint CLI to deploy artifact to Cloud Hub. So this is it, and okay, we have seen the magic now. So this is a very quick overview of a setup in Jenkins. So if you guys notice in my screen, I have some credentials setup, which is for the email, for sending emails, and my GitHub credentials. Sorry, this is for GitHub credentials. Then I have a Nexus installed in my local machine. These are the Nexus credentials. I have a connected app created, which in next slide we are going to see. Both are creds over here. Then environment related client ID and credentials are sitting over here. I have a Nexus. I already said I have a Git installed. I have Maven installed. Then small setting for the email notifications. And I have few environment variables as part of Jenkins, so that it can go to right point and I can refer these particular environment variables within my pipeline. And you're going to get a full view of this in mine or Akshay's machine. So don't worry, guys. Just it's a very quick overview for now, before we deep dive. Okay, as I said, we are using here Anypoint CLI. So to connect to Anypoint CLI, what we are doing is we are using connected apps. So at the left side, you guys are seeing that is something, one connected app which I have created. Now, how you can create it? Let me quickly show you guys. So you simply need to come to access management. And why am I using connected app is I believe you guys would be having a question. So connected app is something kind of act as a technical user on behalf of you, which is something really interesting and a really new topic, where you need not to manage all the users as part of these users. You can simply have a connected app which will act on behalf of you for a different purpose. So as of now, I'm using it for the CI/CD. You can have it for the different API calls, say pull logs from a platform, or so many, whatever functionalities you or the features available of platform, most of them are available as part of connected app, and behalf of a user it can perform. So you simply can come over here and give, say, a test connected app, and you can say act behalf of a user, and add some scope. So this is the place you can set permissions. So let me go back to my slide where we can see what all permissions as of now I have added. So at the left side, I said CI/CD is there. So I'm adding what? Exchange viewer, because it needs to pull asset from Exchange. Few runtime manager permissions I'm giving: creating, deletion, download of application. I'm also giving few extra permissions as well. Probably you might not need it, but I'm using it for some other purpose. But probably all the application related permissions, if you give, it is okay for Cloud Hub. And this read application is again important if you are doing a listing of the apps or something like that. For API manager part, you need to give manage API configuration, manage policy, view API configurations, and view policy related access as well. And again, this is very important, view environments. So as of now, if you guys are noticing, I'm just associating LOB1 related user, right? So you can have for prod or for upper environments, you can have a separate connected app which will only hold that particular permissions. And this is how you can restrict the access. So maybe in dev, you be a little bit lenient so that developers can perform all the activities. However, you remove those rights for the dev, for the prod ones. That is something is possible. So I think you can play around with this permissions underneath connected app. This part I already covered, that we have two business groups. One is master and another one is LOB1. Whatever we are doing today is under LOB1 BG. And these are two separate apps I have per business group and for their dev environment. So you can play around based on whichever best practices you guys want to use. But my preference as of now for this learning experience is that I will use one connected app per environment. Okay. So I think so far what we have seen is CI, CD, as well as configurations which are actually behind the scene, sitting as part of AnyPoint platform. So from this point, Akshay, would you please take a quick screen share and then share us the insights of all your setup which you have for CI, CD, and and the API discovery related. Meanwhile, I will see a few questions, or I can see further questions I can answer, and you can carry on with this session.
Okay, thank you, Nemish. Thank you for that. I'll take the screen share now. My voice is properly audible, right? There is no problem.
Absolutely correct, Akshay. Yep, please go ahead.
Can you stop sharing? I am pressing the share screen button, but
I just did it. Yes.
No, I can get the options. Please let me know once you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, you're good, Akshay.
Okay. So this is our Jenkins home setup. So we'll first go through quickly the Jenkins configuration that we have done. And then later we'll explore all of these pipelines that we have created for CI, CD, and API manager configuration. So here on your left-hand side, if you see, there is a manage Jenkins option, right? So this is the place where you configure your Jenkins with all the tools and configurations that are necessary for Jenkins to work properly. So if we go under this configuration system operations, right? Is the audio fine now?
Yeah, audio is okay. Yeah.
Okay, I can see some comments. They're saying that audio is a problem, so just checking with them.
I think Vinod is saying audio is low for me.
Okay.
Can't hear. Fine now. I think it's good. So yeah, could you please be a little bit louder, Akshay?
Sure. I'll try to be louder. Yeah.
If you can go near the mic.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Jitendra is saying not loud as Nemish was. Jitendra, it's the same problem in all the meetings. Just kidding. Akshay, go ahead, please.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for it to load. Not sure why it is taking so long.
In case you want me to share my screen, I can do it. And Akshay, you can explain.
Let me check if it is something wrong with Jenkins or okay. So this configuration system is taking long. So meanwhile, we can see the global tool. So this section will contain the configuration that is required for Maven and Git configuration. So if we see here, right, under this Git section, so we have created one default Git configuration. So Jenkins will use that git.exe, it will find in the path, and it will start using that for all the operations that we do with the version control, like checking out code, uh, like that. And then if you see here, the other option is Maven installation. So here we have also configured Maven. So we have given the path of Maven home, and this is required for us to build the mule jar and test and do all of the Maven related things that we do with our mule project. So this is all that we do here in the global tool configuration. We configure Git and Maven. Still waiting for this global system to load. Meanwhile, we'll see the plugins option. So as Nemish shown in the slide, right? Yeah. So we are using a number of plugins for our CI/CD pipeline to make the process easier and with lesser code. So you can see the plugins that we're using here, like Groovy, and we have the Git plugin, pipeline utility step, email plugin. So this plugin will be used to send success or failure email alerts to the configured user. Then we have the Nexus artifact uploader plugin. So this plugin will upload our jars to the Nexus repository that we have configured. I'll quickly check if it is open or not. So we have the plugins open. So here you can see there are 4 sections like update, available, installed, and advanced. So you can see we have the installed plugins options, and we have all the plugins that we want. And if you want to install any plugin, we can go to the available plugin section and do a quick search. Okay, there seems to be some issue with this. So now it is fine.
Issues.
Take them in case.
I think issue is gone now. Just that
Cool.
we have we'll see this configure system in your machine, Nemish, because this seems to be not loading in my
No
system.
worries. No worries. Yep.
So for example,
that's fine actually. No worries.
Yeah. I have searched for this Cloud Hub deployer plugin, and I can see it is available, and I can simply click and install without restart, and it will add this plugin to my system.
Just Akshay, one quick comment on this is, I think this Cloud Hub deployer plugin is something out of the box available with Jenkins. This is what something which we are not using today, but just for your information, Akshay is showing.
Correct. This was just an example.
Just an example. Yes.
Search for a plugin and get it
Correct.
installed in your Jenkins.
Yes.
So since this does not seem to be loading, so we'll move back to the pipelines. So in order to create a pipeline for our CI/CD, right, we click here in the new item section. We enter the name for that pipeline and we select the pipeline option here. So if we see, and I have selected the pipeline option, and if I click OK, we'll see that the pipeline has been made available for us to configure. And here you can configure all the different options that we have. And here is the place where you place your actual script for the particular pipeline. This will be executed whenever this pipeline is triggered. So we'll save it for now. And here you can see that pipeline. So this is, we'll put this description on hold and we'll quickly take a look at the other parts of the setup that we have. So this is the Nexus repository that we are using. So if we go here, and this is the exact Maven 2 hosted repository that we are using for this demo. And as you can see, it already holds some of my previous execution artifacts. And the group ID is com.mycompany, and the artifact ID or the project name is Weather Experience API. And then we have our GitHub repository. So this is where the code is located. So this is from my point of view. Nemish has his own code base with the code repository. And in the code, I would like to mention 2 important things that are going to be used in our CI/CD flow. So you see this API platform properties file, correct? So this file holds some important configuration related stuff that will be used when we will configure the API in API Manager, and when we want to apply different policies in that particular API. So it contains the API name that you want to create in the API Manager. And the thing that we want to notice that some API specification with this name must be present in the exchange. And if we do not find this asset with this name in exchange, then the process will fail. So it is not like that you can provide any name and create a API in the API manager. And then you have your policy related configuration. So for example, here we'll see the JWT validation properties. So all the properties that are required to configure this JWT validation policy, right? They have been configured here. So this is one file that is important. And for the CI flow, we have the Jenkins file available in the project itself. So we'll see this in detail once we see the CI pipeline. Nemish, can I go ahead on explaining in CI/CD pipelines, or do you have something to add?
No worries. I think you can continue for that. And meanwhile, the environment variables we have when you refer, I will quickly take a screen share and show the people that what all setup we have. Yep. Go ahead.
So we'll quickly take a look at the CI pipeline first. So if you click on this configure button for this CI pipeline, it will show you the code and all the configurations that we have done. So here for the pipeline code, we are saying that we want to fetch the pipeline script from a source code management system. So we are using a Git as a source code management system, and this will be referring to this particular repository. So whenever you trigger this pipeline, right? So this pipeline will go to this repository and it will refer the branch main and pull all the code from there. And from all the code, we have given the script path as Jenkins file. So this file will be referred from the particular script. So now we'll quickly see what are the steps or content of this script. So if we refer the presentation, as Nemish has already explained. So in CI, we are doing the first step as checkout, right? So here if we see, checkout has already been done as part of this step. So we are already checking out this Git repository. The next step is where we are building the project or artifact. So the next step is build. So here we are doing the mvn package command. We are not executing the test here because we just want to package the application. The next stage that we are performing here is test. So we are doing mvn test, and this is an optional parameter that we are providing in order to avoid port conflict or address in use errors. So this will do your usual unit test and integration test for your particular application. And this is the important step where we are publishing the jar that we have packaged to the Nexus repository, which is this. And this particular step, published to Nexus repository, makes use of this Nexus artifact uploader plugin, which we have made available in Jenkins. So it takes multiple parameters. So some of these parameters are being taken from the environment variable, like Nexus version, Nexus protocol, and everything else. And here we can see we are reading the POM file. We are identifying the jar file that we want to deploy. And once we execute this Nexus artifact uploader command, right? So it will publish the following artifacts to our repository. So the first one is obviously our jar, the mule application package jar that we want to have there in the artifact repository. And the second file is the properties file, this properties file, right? The property file which I showed you earlier, the API platform properties, because this file will be used in the later stage of the process. And if you have if you see any error during this uploading, it will simply say error, saying that there was some error and this file could not be found. And this post build action identifies what to do in case of success of this script and what to do in case of failure of this script. So in both of the cases, we are simply triggering a mail. So it has the following parameters like BCC, body. And you can see here we have all the properties that are required to send mail. And at the end, we are defining the to whom to send the message or the mail to. So once this pipeline executes, right? So as a result of this pipeline execution, so we have this pipeline execution, right? We can see the console output. So here we can see we are packaging the application. Once the package is done, the build is successful. We are testing the application again. And as the last step, we are just simply uploading this artifact to our repository. And once the process is successful, you should be able to see the artifact and your properties file here. So this is for CI. Any questions or queries in this?
I have given Akshay few questions were there, so no worries on.
Okay.
So yes, you can go ahead. So again, just to summarize what Akshay just showed is there is one GitHub. So I'll quickly repeat the CI process.
Sure.
What is happening behind the scene is there is a GitHub repo where there is a code base. People have asked, is there any changes to the POM file? Answer is no. There is a settings XML where repo settings are sitting there. We are not changing anything as part of POM, but settings XML provides a little bit more externalization. Hence, you can have a single setting or a repo for all different APIs. You need not to repeat the same setting in POM. If we have 50 repo, then create 50 pipeline. No, you can have a separate repo as part of your settings, and that will be referred when you have a CI. So that is possible. And pipelines. Okay, Sudhir is asking, can you please show pipeline steps again for CI? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Just would you please open it? Yep. Build script language is Groovy.
Groovy and Jenkins declarative pipeline script.
Correct. So basically, no extra plugin, just other than a Groovy. Jenkins pipeline steps as well, I believe, comes within the setup itself, right?
Yeah. Sudhir. Okay.
Okay, he wants to see in Jenkins. Okay.
Got it. Yes.
Sure, Sudhir. Yeah. Abdul, I will come to that point for the Nexus in settings XML. There is one credential setting. Let me delete that and I'll show you a quick setup of it. Or Akshay, if you have that one handy, would you please be able
Which
to
one?
settings XML? Yes, if you could show it to Abdul. Yep.
Yes, here we have our settings.xml.
Devendra, there is no deploy Cloud Hub tag in POM XML. This is simple CI. It is just packaging of it. There was one question saying that Python shell script. Yeah, choice of your code language, Abhishek. You can pick it up. Just that Jenkins pipeline should have that support. There is no. I mean, we are kind of familiar to Groovy during our experience, so we picked that up. Are we placing that's right, Bharat. It is as part of there. So this is the settings XML, guys, which few of the people you asked. So yes, Akshay, go ahead.
Yeah. Sudhir is asking if only one step with the help of script will result to push artifact on Nexus. That is correct. So as we have already seen, I'll quickly go back there. So this Nexus artifact uploader plugin, right? This will do all the heavy lifting for us.
Yep.
We can provide all the parameters for connecting to Nexus repository. And in this artifact array, we can provide all the things that we want to push to that particular artifact repository.
And if you guys notice, along with POM here, property is also being pushed. So you can have, again, few other choices. Say property is something as part of CD script we are going to use to have an API discovery and a policy setup, guys. So as of now, this property, we are pushing it to Nexus, but you can have other choice of tools or externalization as well available. Okay. If I give same build detail in run configuration, that will work as well. No, process would not differ, just that don't give it in settings XML, Surya. So that it should not be, your repo should not be conflicting in that. So yeah, if you give it in POM, that would work. That's fine.
Yeah, so AnyPoint credentials are maintained in the Jenkins credential store, Devendra. They are not maintained in property file.
Rajiv, we will get to hear how the API is updated if already exists. So there is one utility job which we mentioned. On that in coming slides, you will get the answer of it. So we have made our Jenkins script, all the Groovy script, very much intelligent. So if API is already existing or deployed, it will check for what all settings are available. If those are there, simply update the new settings, or if existing jar file is there, no need to create a new deployment. So that intelligence, little bit maturity we have given to those scripts as well, Raju. Yep. Devendra, to answer your question, Anypoint credentials we are not using, we are using connected app, and those connected app related credentials are sitting as part of Jenkins credentials. It is not in the property file. Yes, Akshay, over to you.
Yeah, quickly I'll go through this settings.xml. So these ID and credentials that you see, right? So this one is like your Mule repository, Nexus Enterprise repository credential that you get from MuleSoft to connect to their enterprise repository server. And this is the server ID we have, Nexus repository, which is for our Nexus repo. So this is the username and password for our Nexus repo. And in the profile, right, we have created a new profile which says local as this is my local Nexus repository configuration. So here you can see I have defined two repositories. This one will not be referred for snapshots, and I've given the URL of the repository. So this is the same Nexus repository, which is this one.
Yeah, Akshay, there is one question. Let me take that one. Yeah. Rachna, so far we haven't touched anything as part of Anypoint platform. Everything is happening in local. So there is no connected app is being used as part of CI. But that is definitely we need once we go outside of our local box and push that particular artifact to API manager for API creation, and especially to runtime manager for the deployment. That's where connected app will come into picture, and which you will see it in coming slides. Yes, I think it's time for CD, Akshay.
Yeah, I jump to CD now. Yes.
Yes. And great questions, guys. Yes.
Yes. So, yes.
Actually, one more item is, so here CD script is something common, guys. CI is something which will be residing that Jenkins file, you guys, if you notice, which Akshay is showing, it is sitting as part of your code repo. While CD script is something which will accept the app name as well as version you need to give. So Akshay, would you please show the Nexus repo very quickly of your local? I think we lost Akshay, it seems. Are you guys able to hear me? Say yes or no.
Yes, Nimish, I think we lost him.
Let me take a screen share. No worries. My
sure.
setup is up and running. Yep. Okay, so this is a CD one. So do we need to specify Nexus details in POM XML? Abdul, no, because that is something you already did it as part of settings XML, right? So no need. So your POM XML will be the default one, which will work. Devendra, to answer that question, if CI job is success, then CD, you can add a post build extend steps. You can do the way you are seeing it, that I'm hitting another job in trigger API configuration related. So you can do it. As of now, as I want to do a segregation of both the jobs to have a better orchestration, I'm not doing it, but very well possible. Okay. So I'm not sure if Akshay is back, but Akshay, I have taken the screen share for a moment, and
sure.
I'm starting with the CD part of it.
I'm back.
Okay. In case my screen is visible to you, okay. Yes. Can you show the global configuration of Anjali? You are saying of application, or that Jenkins global configuration, which were not loading for Akshay. If you could answer that, I can quickly show. But meanwhile, anyways, let me show that. So these are the settings which Akshay was showing us, that we have environment variables as part of these. And below as well, there is some setting for the email, which is SMTP Gmail, and I have configured my Gmail ID so that whenever success, failure, anything happens to the build from this particular email address, mail should go. Rachna, that is right. Trigger API configuration is doing API auto discovery and policy setup, and I'm just coming to that part. Okay. Surya, that is possible. Triggering of pipeline, you commit to Git, but as of now, just ACE of access during this meetup. I am not adding it. Reason being, it may time from GitHub to reach to Jenkins of my local, which it may take some time, and I don't want to lose that time, that precious time. Hence, I'm clicking a build now. That can be very well done. It's just a webhook. It's a simple few configuration you add, and it can be done. Okay. So here there is a fetch artifact happening. So quickly I'll show you guys that there is Nexus as well is running in my local, right? And here I'll quickly also show what is there in the Nexus.
Nemish, I'm back in case you need me, right? Let me know.
Or let's do one thing, Akshay.
Yeah.
In case you want to share your screen, take a screen share and go
Sure.
ahead. You can explain the CD part of it and Discovery.
Definitely.
All yours.
Yes.
Let me stop sharing. All yours.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, for the switching off screens and technical glitches. Bear with us for some time.
Apologies.
Yes, no worries, Nimish. That's absolutely fine. No worries.
So here, I'll quickly show. So there was one question where we are storing the AnyPoint credentials, right? So if you go and manage Jenkins, so Jenkins has this credential vault sort of functionality where we can store all the credentials or sensitive information. So for example, here we have our Git credentials stored. Similarly, for Nexus as well, we have stored the credentials here. And then these are the connected app credentials that we are going to use for interacting with the platform. And these are the dev environment client credentials. So these are necessary whenever you want to apply auto discovery to your deployed application, right? So along with your auto discovery ID, you need to provide the target environments client credentials. So these are the credentials that we'll be using. So now we'll jump back to the CD pipeline. So if I click on build with parameters, right, we'll see there are two parameters that are required for the CD pipeline. So first is the project name, and then the other one is version. So why are these required? So these two parameters combined will identify the artifact in the mule repository. So if you see here, right, so this weather experience API is your project name, and the 3 is the version that you want to use. So based on the project name and version, this particular artifact will be chosen for the processing or deployment. So we'll quickly see configure. So here, how did we added those parameters? So if we click on this, project is parameterized under this general section, right? So it will allow us to add parameters here. So we have added 2 string parameters with project name and version. And if we scroll down, so in the pipeline script section, we have added the entire pipeline. So this is a bit uncomfortable to view it here. So we'll switch to our VS Code editor to see this pipeline better. So this is the CD pipeline that we have here.
Little bit zoom if you could.
Sure, yes. I'll close this. Is this better?
Yeah, can you guys confirm, one of you, that if it is better? Yeah, that is better. Yep. I can see it at least, yeah.
Yes. Is this better now? I thought that was too zoomed in. Okay. Yes, so we have got confirmation. So again, this is our pipeline, and in the tools section, we have specified that we'll be using Maven. So this is the Maven that we have configured in our Jenkins. And then we have the stages. So first stage is the fetch artifact stage. So here we are first fetching the jar. If you see here, we are first fetching the jar. And these are the parameters, the project name and version that we are using to fetch the jar. And the second one is the property file that we are fetching. So this property file will be used in different places that we'll see once we encounter. And this is the script. So once we read the property file or fetch the property file from the Nexus repo, correct? So we are creating a property source using that particular property file. So if we see, we are loading the properties from this particular property file to this properties object. And then we have our trigger API configuration section where we are triggering this particular job. We'll see this job in detail next. And we are providing these parameters to this job as well, which is project name, version, and API ID. So this API ID is kind of a return variable that we are providing to this job. So what this job will do, it will execute the configurations in API manager, and it will return an API ID, also known as the auto discovery ID, in this particular variable.
Sorry to interrupt. Just one thing. There was one question saying that could you please show configuration page in CD? So once you are done with this script explanation, would you please show the CD configuration in Jenkins, please?
Sure. I'll quickly finish this and move on. So once we receive a response from this particular pipeline execution, right, we are storing that result here. And from this result, we are getting the build variable. And from there, we are extracting the API ID and storing it in the auto discovery ID. So this will be used in the deploy stage. So this is our deploy stage. We have the environment section where we set all the environment variables that we are going to use. So here we are setting the anypoint org and anypoint environment variables. So this will identify the organization and environment in which we want to do the deployment. And here we are making use of some credentials. So if you see here, we are making use of the connected app credentials and the client credentials. So we have seen this in credentials manager, and so there's this thing with anypoint CLI, right? So there are certain environment variables which once you set, this anypoint CLI will automatically pick those variables. For example, this anypoint org will be automatically picked by anypoint CLI tool to identify the organization. Similarly, this environment variable will be used to identify the environment, and same goes for the credentials as well. So this anypoint CLI will look for these environment variables to pick the credentials. So these are the names set by that particular tool. And this is the logic which identifies whether we need to deploy the application or we need to modify the application. So there can be two scenarios. Once where you are doing a fresh deployment of the jar, and then the second scenario is where your application is already deployed and you're just doing a version upgrade. So what we are doing, first we are fetching an application list. So if we see this command, right, anypoint CLI runtime manager, and we are fetching the list of application, Cloud Hub application, right? And we want that in text format, and from the list of fields, we want only the application name field. So once we have this list here, we are simply doing a contains check to see whether our application list already contains a project name or not. So if existing application, so if our application is already existing, right, so this if will be executed, and here we'll run the modify command. So we are passing several parameters to this command. The first one is the project name, that is our Cloud Hub application name. So we are giving the project name and appending -dev to this, since this is our dev pipeline. And second one is the path of the jar file that we want to deploy, and all other parameters like your worker size, your worker number of workers that you want to have. And these properties flag is used to mark that these properties will be used as runtime property for this application. So we have this API.AutoDiscovery. So if you see this is what we have received in our previous step. So we are making use of this variable here. And along with that, in order for this auto discovery ID to work properly, we are also supplying the client ID and client secret here as well. Client ID and client secret here as well. Yes. So this was the command that we run when we have our application already available on Cloud Hub. And let's say if this is a fresh deployment, then instead of modify command, we simply run the deploy command, which will deploy the application to Cloud Hub. And rest of the command remains the same, even with the parameters as well. And then we are simply waiting for 60 seconds for this process to complete. And this logic again sends email in case of success or failure to the designated or targeted mailbox or users. So this is the CD pipeline. Any questions that we have here?
For Akshay, no worries.
Okay, thank you. And what was that, Nimish, that you wanted me to show?
So Surya was expecting that if you could show him this CD related configurations which are sitting, like parameters and where it is happening. Yep.
So once you, so this is our pipeline, right? This is the home page for that pipeline. So if you click on configure, it will take you to the configuration page. So if you want to make certain pipeline build parameterized, so you check this option and then it allows you to define all the parameters that you want to have. So for our pipeline, we have the project name and the version here. Okay. If I need, I can add any other parameter from this list. And then it allows multiple options that you want to check if you want to use them. And then this is the main part where we place our script. also we want to make sure that we are not using the Groovy sandbox, because it does not allow certain commands to be executed properly. So there is a restriction with Jenkins that you cannot run certain commands if you are running your Groovy in sandbox. So this was the CD process. Now we'll look at the common API manager configuration job. So this is kind of a utility job, and it can be referenced from any project. And this also takes two parameters, project name and version. This is also to fetch the property file, which contains all the API manager related configuration properties from Nexus. We'll see the configurations here again. So similarly, like the CD build, we have this project also parameterized with two parameters, project name and version. And then this is the pipeline. So this pipeline makes heavy use of Groovy with lot of Groovy libraries. So here we are using grapes to identify all the modules or libraries that we need. So again, we'll switch to VS Code to take a better look at this particular script. So if you see, we are importing certain classes and packages from the Groovy. And then again, this is the pipeline. So if you see, we are fetching the API configuration file. This is also making use of the Maven tool. So here we are again simply copying the property file. If you can see this properties file that we are copying. Same as our CD, we are also setting that property file as the property source here. And then we have our main API discovery and policy setup stage. So we are setting the two environment variables. So these will be used in the URL for the APIs that we are going to call from this Groovy script. And so we are also using the connected app credentials to connect to Anypoint platform and talk to the API manager. So here are several variables that are used. So this one is, for example, a token URL. So this is the URL which will call to get a token using these Anypoint connected app credentials. Similarly, we have a base URL for all the APIs that we are going to call. So this particular API base URL makes use of the organization ID and environment ID to identify the correct target environment for the correct organization business group. Right? And these are the policy configurations. So for this script demonstration, the script can configure three policies. One is the JSON thread protection, one is the client ID enforcement, and one is the JWT validation. So if we want to extend this list of policies, we can simply add another key value pair, with the key being the name of the policy and value being the configuration data that the policy required to be configured. So before that, we'll quickly see the flow of this particular script so as to understand the script better. Okay. So if you see, once we click the start, once we execute,
just sorry, one point.
Yeah.
So people are just asking a question that is this the policy API discovery and all that? Where is that particular job? So guys, this is the one which Akshay is showing.
Yeah.
And Akshay, if you could go back to your Jenkins screen quickly.
Sure. Yeah, here I am.
And in the give just one back there. Yes. So as part of CD, if you would jump to CD.
The CD pipeline. Yes, and if I go to configuration, right?
Yes. So
you can
yes.
see it here better.
No, as part of, if you just give one more back in your Jenkins itself.
Okay.
Give one back just and just see CD. So here the third step, trigger API configuration, right? This is the job which Akshay is explaining. And if you go into configure of CD one more time, there was one question related to modifying the application. So Surendra, to answer your question, what we are so far doing is we are just listing or in the, this one, we are at line number 57, we are making a application list command. If you go ahead right, it will give the application list, and you have to make sure that it will give a text format in return. By default, it gives table, so it will. So Jenkins will struggle to parse that. Otherwise, you have to give more intelligence to it. And the back one, if you go just give a left scroll, Akshay. So there is the if and else statement. If you have existing application, run existing one, then modify. If it is not existing one, create new. Okay, Surendra, sorry, for the property one as well, you can do it. See, in case of new property, I believe, go at the right side of the script. I believe I have not tried for the new one, but I believe via this -f property, it should work, but I will give it a try, Surendra, before I give you answer on that. But I believe it should pick, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So, but this is the place you can have -property and give, because the same way we are giving the API discovery ID, right? Which is actually modifying it, but okay. Okay, Surendra, thank you for this. Yep. I'll give it a try, and if that works, yep.
Nimish, can I say something?
Absolutely, yep.
We need to honor the time also. Let's proceed and finish the presentation. During the Q&A session, we will make it more interactive there.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. So shall I continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Sridhar, to answer that, if API policies are already there, that job is a little bit smart. If it is already there, it will skip those steps. Yep. Yes, Akshay, quickly you can go ahead with this one.
Yeah. So once we trigger this particular pipeline, right? So the first step it does is it requests for token, and it uses the connected app credentials and talks to the API platform and gets the request token. And the next thing that it checks is whether your API already exists in the platform or not, or in the API manager or not. So if your API does not exist, right, it will create a new API for you, and it will apply all the policies or create all the policies. So the policies that you do give the configuration details here in the this API platform properties file, right? So if you see this policies list, right? So this list will be used to identify what all policies is that you want to apply to that particular API. And once the policies are created, it will assign the auto discovery ID, and it will return to the end mark. And the next second flow is where your API already exists in the API manager, right? Then what it will do, it will fetch all the existing policies that are already applied to this particular API. And for each of the policy that you have configured here, right, in the policies list, it will check whether that policy is already present in this existing policies list. So if that is already existing, it will simply loop over everything, and once the process is complete, it will save this API ID's environment variable. And if the policy does not exist, right, so it will create the policy for you, and it will end the process. So we'll see it in code, and then maybe it will make more sense. Yeah, so the policy config, this is correct. So these are the configuration properties. So since we are pressing on JWT validation example, we'll take a look at this. So if you see these properties, right, JWT origin, JWT expression. So these are mentioned in this property file, and they are being read from there. Right? Similarly, we have for other policies as well. And if we scroll down, here we see the actual script start. So this is the logic which fetches the access token from our AnyPoint platform. So it is making use of the connected app credentials, and since we are using connected app credentials, we are supplying the grant type as client credentials. If it would have been username and password, then it would have been username, password, and then grant. There will be no grant type. And once we receive the result of the token URL call, right, this is the make REST post call. So this is a helper method that we have written, which makes the post call on our behalf. So here is the logic for that. So this is the one. So it takes your URL, optional query parameters, the request body, and the access token, which is required to make the post call. Since all the API manager APIs need access token, I have added this argument here. And this is your standard Groovy way of making a HTTP post call using the HTTP builder object. So once we have the access token, right, the next step that we are doing is we are checking if the policy already exists or not. So here we are fetching all the API instances using the API URL, and here we are providing the API asset ID as the query parameter to this REST GET call. So just like we have a REST post call helper method, we have a REST GET call helper method as well. This is the one, and if you can see, it takes URL, query parameter, and again access token. Since this is a GET call, it does not require a request body. Right. So once we make the REST GET call, we are storing the response here, and then we are fetching the total attribute from this GET API instance response. So,
hey, Akshay, sorry, only one point is here. Guys, this one here, right? We have, if you guys notice, we created connected app in the starting point of the presentation, and that particular connected app's client ID and credentials are here used. If you guys have missed it, so I'll just give a quick repeat to it. It is making a platform API calls, and that's where the script which Akshay is explaining, it has all the intelligence of execute, not to execute, which particular policy to apply, which one not to apply based on the property. And that's the reason that property is also sitting there in your Nexus repo along with your jar file and the POM file, right? So just to give you guys a quick heads up, if you guys are not connecting the dots, I thought let me jump in and tell you guys that this is how magic is happening of applying policies and configurations. And I think Akshay, you can quickly, show it and skip the detail of the script. That's okay. And
sure,
we will jump to the MUnit post that. Yep.
So I'll try to finish it as quickly as possible. So this total will contain a value greater than 0 if there is an API already exists with this particular API name in the API manager. So we are checking if total APIs is greater than 0, right? It means our API already exists there. So here we are fetching the already applied policies. So we are again making a REST call to this particular URL, and we are fetching the list of already applied policy, right? And here, this is the important loop, right? So if we are iterating through the required policy, right? And then here we are checking whether our already applied policy contains this required policy or not. So if it contains, we are simply printing a message that this policy is already applied. And if it is not, then we are simply making a REST post call for policies. So we are providing the policy URL, policy configuration data for this required policy, and the access token. So the next scenario is that if the API does not exist in the platform, right, then we are preparing a API request body, and we are making a post call to create the API with the given request body, which is this request body. So it takes your group ID, asset ID as the API name, and the version. So we are reading everything from the property file. For example, this API version and this instance label. And these are your standard configuration parameters that you see in the UI while creating a new API. So once our call to this create new API is successful, we are fetching the API ID from the response. The API ID is nothing but the auto discovery ID. And once we create the API, we are simply iterating through the required policy, and we are applying each policy for this newly created API. And once this entire process is done, we are saving this auto discovery ID as the API ID. Now this API ID, if you remember in CD, right? So we are using this API ID here and saving it as auto discovery, which in turn is then being used by this modify or deploy command. Yep, that was CD. I think we have covered CI/CD and common API configuration pipeline as well. So if we have any questions, otherwise we'll move to the MUnit coverage settings.
I think we have one question from Sudhir.
Yes.
I'll quickly cover that.
Okay, yep. I think you already covered it, but it's kind of yep. You can repeat the same. Yep.
So this API manager configuration pipeline, right? Once we execute this, so this is the code for that, and it will return a API ID build variable or environment variable. You can call it either. And we are saving it as a auto discovery ID in our CD pipeline. If you see, this is a CD pipeline. And then we are using the same variable here while making the deploy or modify command. So if you see here, So this is the exact place where we're using the discovery ID.
Basically, CLI command gives you a flexibility to send property or modify property of API ID. So as part of policy config, if you see, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, we have given hard coded first, and then it will pick a dynamic one and set it to the CD job. That's it.
Okay, if no more questions, I can move ahead to the API coverage flow validation.
Yeah, I think we can proceed, Akshay.
Yes. So Mule provides us the inbuilt capability of failing our test if the required coverage for either application, resource, or flow falls below a certain limit. So in our pom.xml, right, under the plugin for munit, we can define a configuration for coverage, right? So if you want your build to fail, if your coverage does not reach a specified limit, then you need to set this fail build to true. And then for these three properties, you can define the minimum coverage that you need. For example, we have the application coverage to be at least 75%, right? So if the application coverage falls below 75%, this build will fail. But the criteria is that we need to set the build fail build to true. Similarly, we can define the resource coverage and flow coverage as well. So if we see here in the right hand side screenshot, we can see that our test has failed. It took 8 minutes 11 seconds to run, but the test has failed. And if we see the logs why it has failed, so it is complaining that the application coverage is below defined limit. So we have required a 75% application coverage, but the current is 27.27%. So due to the criteria not being fulfilled, this application build has failed. Yeah, and also if you are using munit, you need to make sure that you have your Mule Nexus credentials configured in settings.xml, which are these. If you want to quickly take a look at this, this is the this is the username and password for that. And if you open one of the profiles, we'll see. Yeah, and this is the enterprise Nexus repository that we have configured. Any questions that we have here in the munit coverage criteria?
I think we are good. Akshay?
Yes. Yes, Neeraj. So, Nimish, I'll pass on this screen share to you and you can
Cool.
continue.
Bharat is asking one question. Akshay, if you can handle
Yeah.
that one.
Yes, sure. How Nexus is linked with munit? So in order to run munits, right, you need certain dependencies which are only available in Nexus Enterprise Edition repositories. So if you want to execute munit properly, you need to set up this Nexus Enterprise repository in your settings.xml so as to fetch those enterprise artifacts. So basically, this enterprise edition repository from MuleSoft, right? This is protected with username and password. So this is not publicly available. So if you want to access any artifacts from this repository, you need a special username and password which is provided by MuleSoft. And this particular repository contains certain dependencies which are required to execute munits. Yeah, maybe that was the reason, Bharat. So we need to make these changes in the settings.xml. Nemish, I'll stop sharing and maybe you
Sure.
can take over. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening to me.
It was simply great, Akshay. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, thank you, Neeraj.
Thank you, Akshay. I will take a screen share very quickly. Let me know once you guys see my screen.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So far what we have seen is CI we have seen, CD we have seen. We have also done a deep dive across all the topics. So far, I think it's 10-7, Neeraj, and we can open floor for question for now.
Yeah.
And yes, and post that, yes, let me know. I will be your navigator, and you can tell me when to switch the slides.
Yes. So please be careful in switching the next slide.
Yes, that's the reason those are in the small
Yeah,
thumbnails.
correct.
Yep.
So, is the information available in Docs MuleSoft? Sudhir is asking a question. Thank
In
you so
bits and
much for liking it, Abdul.
yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
Sudhir
Neeraj.
is.
Yeah, sorry, Neeraj, for interrupting. Sudhir, it is in bits and pieces available in docs, but yeah, that CI and CD segregation, that is something you will not find it in MuleSoft docs, but in bits and pieces, you will get all the information of tools. And probably I will share one of our blog, which me and Akshay has prepared, which will give you more insight to it.
Yeah, that blogs really provides you a step-by-step instructions if you want to configure it in your own system.
Thank you so much for liking it, Ashish. Devendra, Atul, thank you so much. Let me stop the recording.